last night was truly an awful effort. I've noticed some people trying to find a silver lining. Well, they didn't quit when it was 5-0, as if that's supposed to be something that you. What do you get a ribbon for that?
I didn't see that. I didn't see.
Well, the silver lining crowd, right? They're still in a playoff spot. Fact. Yeah, they are. It's not like Florida is the 85 Edmonton Oilers here you're competing with. Fact. But
whatever you think about this team, here's the bottom line. Everybody says you generally know what you have after 20 games. This team is right where they're supposed to be. If anybody thought, whether it be the president, the GM, any fans, us, that this is a contending team, this team as it is constructed right now that goes out on the ice is not a contending team for the Stanley Cup. They are right where they should be, fighting for a playoff spot. They are currently in. They could get in. They could miss. So they have to figure out, what do we want to do? Do we want to trade for guys and try to make our team better, which I think is not the right thing to do because they're going to get bounced in the first round, because they're going to get Tampa, they're going to get Boston, and they're going to get slaughtered. Could they turn things around and pull a Columbus Blue Jackets of last year and shock somebody? I guess there's a chance they could. But I don't really think that this team constructed, and I drove from Collingwood today, and I talked to a bunch of people in the NHL, and I said, what is your view of this team? Because I don't want to have my own opinions without talking to people that actually go into rinks, do pre-scouts and stuff like that. And the common theme I got was, think about this team. If you don't turn the puck over and you don't take penalties, what else is their identity? What else do you have? That's what people say when they play the Leafs. Don't turn it over and don't take penalties. They have no identity, 5-on-5. What's their identity? Pittsburgh is, they've got Crosby and Malkins who are elite players, and they work and they get wins and they do the job. Toronto doesn't work. They don't outwork you. They don't out-hit you. They don't do anything. They can score off the rush. They can score in transition. They can score in the power play. But what is their identity? They don't really have one.
They have the exact same style of game regardless of the score.
Right.
And regardless of who they play.
And I don't know what that tweet was that somebody sent and said, I think Mitch Marner said, we know we have to fix our work ethic. Is that real?
Yeah, we have that quote.
It was a quote
from... What the hell is that?
From practice today. Well, I want to believe that that's self-awareness. But
that's a joke.
It's incriminating is what it is. It's incriminating.
Right.
Because that means you're admitting you're not trying hard enough. Like your work ethic. Are we talking about working smarter or working harder? Now, there is a difference between the two of them. And maybe that's what Marner was saying. Working smarter would indicate, we gotta sacrifice our shinny plays that we're all trying to. And Marner was the worst at it last night. Right. Like, he's just out there playing shinny. Yeah. Like, he's trying to get to 100 points and play shinny and justify 10-9. Meanwhile, they're turning pucks over. Matthews, the same thing. Yeah. Early in that game, like, just awful turnovers that you can't have.
And that's the difference. I talk about Jack Eichel all the time. I know you're a big fan. And he's a great player. Yeah. But maybe he's a guy that scores 35 goals a year and gets 70 points. But you know what? Maybe he's just not a winner. He just doesn't. And I've talked to guys that are like, there's guys that have the clutch gene, the go-to gene, the whatever, the winning gene. And maybe these guys just don't have it. Maybe it's Jonathan Toews and Crosby and Kopitar and Doughty. And they just have it because they're the guys that win the cups all the time. St. Louis figured it out. I don't know how they developed that or whatever. But there's playing to win, and I told you yesterday about my dad's comments saying they're paid to win games. They're not paid to go out there and throw their sticks out there and say, maybe I'll get 2 goals and maybe I'll get 50. They're paid for wins. Yeah. And I know the alumni, it's an honor to put on the jacket and go in there, but I talk to them when you go in there, and the one thing that they hate saying is, man, they're talented, but they don't really work. Like, they're just whatever.
That's the one thing I noticed that was really on display last night was work ethic. Pittsburgh had it. I think the Leafs had it in spurts, and that was it. And when you look at common themes throughout the National Hockey League, there are teams that have talent and work hard, and they put it together. Tampa would be example. Boston would be example.
Pittsburgh is. And
Pittsburgh.
Crosby said it after the game last night.
Yeah.
He's like, we work hard and we pay attention to it, and then we know we're good enough to win.
Tampa Bay Lightning, they got dummied by Columbus last year. Who did they add in the offseason?
Patrick Maroon.
Yeah. Why? because he's maybe difficult to play against. He's a big body. He's not just going to let you get run over.
Well, and
who did they just get?
They got the Coleman kid, who's like that too.
Yeah, he's a pain in the ass. They realize that you're not going to do it on skill alone.
Well,
I don't care how skilled you are, but I don't know what this is. What this is like some kind of trial or whatever, trading Kadri and getting Kerfoot and Tyson Barrie, but it's not going to win. You might get into the playoffs, but you're going to get dummied in the first round. I'm sorry, you're going to get dummied.
Well, that's what is the most disappointing part of this, because I agree with everything you're saying. They still might get in. Like, they're in a playoff spot right now. They might get in, but
you can't ignore the fact of what's actually there. Like, they could get in, but they are going to get dummied.
The hope was this year was going to be a big step.
The next step. Yeah.
The hope was, and the belief was, and the expectations were, they will step into elite company with Boston, with Washington, with Pittsburgh, with Tampa.
And the fact is they haven't done it.
And they haven't done it. They have failed miserably in that regard. They could get in. Mm-hmm. They could do what Columbus did, or maybe what Carolina did. Yeah. But they have no shot at winning 16 games in the spring. Absolutely
not playing
0%.
That way.
And
not
by the
playing
way,
that way.
But they're not Morgan Riley to that lineup too. You're still
Doesn't
not doing
matter.
it.
Morgan Riley, you could put Victor Hedman on that team. That's not going to make a difference.
No, you're right. Like, there's a lot of different things.
It's not going to happen.
Here's the thing that I was going through different phases with my thought process, preparing for the show. The one thing I noticed when Sheldon Keefe took over right away, I don't know if you guys remember that. Do you remember that first practice we had it on TSN? He was talking about positioning and protecting the house and, slowing the game down in the defensive zone. Do you guys remember that vividly?
And they were, the special
Arizona,
teams
that
adjusted and were much better immediately.
In Arizona that night, they played a tight game and the attention to detail. And they won 3 in a row right when Sheldon took over. And I remember thinking, okay, like, he's getting these guys to buy in to what Mike had been selling, but new voice, maybe new message, and then it's gotten away from them, and they've never gotten it back, and they've reverted back to old habits, which you've been talking about for 5 years now.
Not
5
longer,
years.
6.
6
and
years
by the
or
way,
whatever.
the coach, he should be held accountable too. He goes on there, and I like the accountability. It's big boy stuff. You can go on there and say, these guys suck tonight. If their goal is to be embarrassed, they pick that out too. But he lets them go out there and play like that. They'll get dummied 6-2, and they'll be god-awful in their own zone. And the next day, there's Lady Gaga playing on the music system, and they have skill development. Change the way they play if they're going out there and continually playing like that. I don't get it.
Well,
how many times can you say about a professional team they suck in their own zone? They're talented enough to play better than that.
Yeah.
You played on a team in Minnesota with 0 talent, just a hardworking bunch of guys. But when you went into Minnesota, unlike Atlanta, who just sucked from top to bottom, you had to beat them 2-1 or 3-1. That's the only way you beat the Minnesota Wild. But the coach decides how the team plays, and he wants to be accountable after the game. That's great. Call out the players. Go ahead. But the way they go out and play on the ice, have some balls and bench one of those guys that make $11 million. If Mitch Marner's going out there being an idiot with backhand passes and stupid plays and turning the puck, bench him. Because you can't win games like that. It is not a skills competition during NHL game time. And every coach that coaches in the league, they say one thing. Well, it's a competitive league. It's a competitive league. Hard to win. Hard to win.
And you
can't go out there and play like that.
Guess what it is right now? The toughest time to win.
No kidding.
The last
if you
20
don't
games of the
understand
system,
the urgency of this time segment of the schedule?
The last 20 games of the season is the toughest time to play other than playoffs because systems are tight. Teams that are out of the playoffs are playing to take those 2 points away. We talked about the Ottawas and the Detroits and all of those teams that they know they're not going to the playoffs, so what are they doing? They're playing spoiler. And then the tight teams that have a system that Malkin's not playing, so what? Somebody else steps in.
Walking off in warm up, and they just absolutely dummy you like that.
And you got to find a way. Like, I would have been fine if Pittsburgh beat them and it was a tight game, and you're like, you know what, that was a good battle. We'll see what Thursday brings. The difference was Pittsburgh has skill, and they worked their asses off. The Leafs have skill, and it was inconsistent effort.
Yeah.
And you need a save. Your special teams need to be better. There's so many things we're going to dissect. But ultimately, I come back to work ethic, and I think skill needs to work harder to be more impactful.
That is just 100% factual, and that is not something that is exclusive to hockey. Every single sport, anything in life, you can have talent if you don't put the work into it and understand the type of work you have to put in. No one's suggesting they're not hitting the gym or that they're not in shape.
No.
It's that they don't play smart. They don't work smart. And I've heard the word urgency get thrown around a lot. I don't sense this team has any urgency. I think they are jokers when it comes to urgency, but they are kings when it comes to desperation. And there's a significant difference between the two in sports. Urgency is when you witness a problem is developing and we're going to stop it before it happens. That's urgency. On the micro level, we're not going to be down 3-0 after the first. We're going to be up 3-0. Desperation is the problem has already presented itself, and now you're trying to save yourself.
Dig out, yeah.
And that's what these guys are great at. They love being down 5-0 and potting 2 and coming out and dancing in the third and saying, they love being desperate. They're comfortable being desperate.
Well, Sheldon kind of said that last night.
They are not comfortable being urgent. They're not.
I don't even believe what they're saying. They all say the same thing.
It's all the same cliches.
Jake Muzzin is the only guy that I truly believe because he saw winners, he saw championships.
But he was floating around last night too.
Yeah,
I mean,
by the
Jake
way,
Muzzin
he
looked
likes
brutal
to speak
last
out,
night.
and he was awful last night.
He's been awful
But all
a couple
of them, it's
times.
like the cliches. It's like I don't even believe it anymore. We got to look each other in the mirror.
I don't need to hear them. It's Dion said it, Phil said it, Bozak said it, Carlisle said it. We've been hearing it for years. Just different people come in and do it. And the 18-wheeler was trending last night. Twitter was a buzz last night.
Yeah.
Here's my take on the idea that the 18-wheeler is starting to, the rig is starting to get going.
Yeah.
Here. It's not necessarily based on last night. Here will be the indication for me that we are on the verge of the 18-wheeler because I have seen it so many times.
Right.
We have all seen it. We've all been on the radio and on TV. We've witnessed it many times. All the big 18-wheelers of the past 10 years we've been here for. I hope this doesn't happen, but I can almost picture it because, again, I've seen it so many times. They will lose tomorrow night, but their effort will be better. It'll be a close game. They might get a lead, and then they'll lose late.
Reeks of a 4-2 empty netter.
And they'll have the adulation to come out after the game saying, that's the real Toronto Maple Leafs. That's the team we believe we are.
Right.
You lost, though. Right. You lost. And that's my concern.
Comes back to what he says. Wins and losses, that's
what matters.
Well, that's what matters.
That's the whole point. No one wants to hear the cliches. No one wants to hear it.
I think he got 4 points last night. If he got 0 and they won 5, they won like that and he just did his job, he's the first guy tapping everybody's legs. Good job.
Yeah.
That he doesn't care.
There's certain. Yeah.
Imagine 71 leaving the ice in warm up.
Well, that should
just
be
crush you like that.
A mismatch for one of the two centers that are both paid more than 71 and 87, substantially more. Yeah. I thought the Leafs captain maybe should have shown up last night. I didn't even think he was on the ice.
No, he didn't.
Tavares
he shouldn't
was
have
awful
commented
last
after. And by the way, according to him, he apparently is showing that he needs Mitch Marner. It's not like he's totally not producing, but put Mitch Marner back with John Tavares and Zach Hyman and say, there you go, captain. There's your line. Austin Matthews, it doesn't care if he's playing with me and you. He's going to score 45 goals or 50 goals. Put him back. You had a winning brand last year, and Tavares played with Marner. So just put him back there. Well, I don't care if they both said we want to play together. Who cares? Forget it. Switch something up. Because enough's enough. Put them together, and we got to go to break. But I don't know.
Good start. You had a
good start. There's a lot there to chew on.